Allow me to extend a warm welcome to all the viewers on the internet and around the world. It is sunrise on YouTube, morning on Facebook, noon on Twitter, midday on Threads, afternoon on Twitch, sunset on Instagram, and evening on Rumble. I am your host, the Ancient One, the Bachelor Supreme, the Phantom Menace, he who remains, and the master of the deceptive arts. We are broadcasting live directly from the sanctum of solitude and the citadel at the end of time. Good evening, everyone. I am the Ancient One, the Bachelor Supreme, the Phantom Menace, he who remains, the master of the deceptive arts, and I come to you today as the voice of the vasectomites. And I have to admit that today I'm feeling a little bit conflicted. I'm not conflicted in my resolve or even in the deceptive arts, my belief in the deceptive arts. No, not at all. There's no conflict there. There's only clarity. I'm conflicted by the contrast, the ever glaring contrast between the inevitable, predictable, guaranteeable outcomes of the knee benders when we compare them to the outcomes of the vasectomites and quite frankly the practitioners of the deceptive arts. And if you look at the picture that you see on the screen today, what you see is a current knee bender and a former bachelor really in the full grasp of the tenets of the dark dimension. He's probably married a few years. He's got kids, bills, responsibilities. And you could see that he's trying to get the work done, but he's got kids that are just full of energy. And I mean, they're like this every single day, you know? I mean, this is the destructive, impending doom that accompanies the knee benders and leaves them with no capacity for self-control, no capacity to protect themselves, no capacity for self-determination. And yet, on this other hand, we have the vasectomites who are enjoying, quite frankly, what I would describe as a complete victory. Sun Tzu says, you can only be sure of your defenses if you hold positions that cannot be attacked. And you can only be safe or sure of safe travel if you go to places where the enemy is not. This is not the case for the knee benders. The knee benders have opened themselves up for a full frontal attack from all sides. Their actions, how, when, and where those actions are carried out, always leads to their demise, right? And even those that survive the dark dimension, right? Their lives are full of sorrow, misery, and above all, regret. It's very few who will go through marriage, divorce, be put on alimony, child support, and then be slapped with those lawyer fees, who come out on the other side of that feeling grateful. Right? There are some who after they've rebuilt, right? After they've gone in through their monk mode and they've hit the gym, they and you know, they take full account of really what's just happened to them. You know, it's not just, the ongoing bills, divorce, alimony, child support, lawyer fees, ongoing lawyer fees. It's also the fact that you've lost something that, quite frankly, you've worked your entire life for, and you don't really know what you lost it for. It's one thing to lose to a superior opponent. It's one thing to lose because of a tragic disaster, but it's another thing to lose your entire livelihood just because somebody got bored, or because they stopped being interested in the life that they are living, and they much prefer to wallow in misery and poverty, right? This is the reality that awaits every bachelor that doesn't evolve and transform into a vasectomite. This misery and regret is really what awaits you. And I call these the five tenants, the five tentacles of the dark dimension. And they grip you, they hold you in their grip, right? These and I will repeat them here once more for emphasis, right? It is marriage, followed by divorce, accompanied by alimony and child support, and finally concluded by those lawyer fees, right? And should you somehow survive that and go back into marriage in the dark dimension, it's really a triumph of hope over experience, but it's also an indication of how powerful the philosophy is, right? And how repetitive it has been, and how well represented it's been, to the point where you would get so completely destroyed and wiped out in what is, quite frankly, an economic world, and you're playing an economic game. To be so completely wiped out and then go back and repeat the same circumstances from which you've been destroyed is truly a testament of the enduring capacity of benderism, right? And this comes in many forms. I call it benderism, the bender's philosophy. It usually comes in things like theology and religion. So they will say that my religion says I must get married. My religion says I must enter the dark dimension, right? Now, this is not a criticism of religion and religious people, right? I believe religion has its place, just not for me. And I'll explain why. And if there are any religious people, right, you cannot be upset at my explanation, because my explanation is going to be clear and concise. Marriage is not a religious ceremony. Marriage is a legally binding and assets combining contract between you, your spouse, and the national government of your country. It is not something that is sanctified. It is a business contract. It's the same type of document that it's like a receipt, right? You know, when you buy a pair of shoes and they give you that receipt, that proof of purchase is more than just a proof of purchase. It's a contract, right? It's a contract. It's an indication that this company has given you this product for this amount of money, and they've given it to you under legal circumstances. And when you take that receipt, that's why there was a time in the past where you would get a receipt and you'd have to sign that receipt. And you'd have to sign every transaction, even if you bought a bottle of water and they gave you a receipt, you had to sign it, because that's a legally binding contract, right? So this is now your bottle of water to consume or do whatever you want with, right? Prior to paying for it and signing that contract, that bottle of water legally doesn't belong to you. And you have no right to consume it or even to remove it from the shop, right? Now, marriage works exactly the same. It's an assets combining contract. You are now saying, I am combining my riches, my wealth, my money, my income, my assets, my car, my house, my livelihood with this individual who will reciprocate. They will bring their assets into this, right? So it's not a religious ceremony. It's not a religious pathway. It's a legally binding contract. And this is exactly what upsets me about religious people who use their religion to get people into this legally binding contract. You are saying that this contract is ordained by God, and it is not. How can a business contract be ordained by God? If you were buying a car, you wouldn't say that me signing the payment plan. I don't know what it's called. I've all the cars I buy are cash, so I don't really take payment plans. But if you're saying that this payment plan, I'm signing a contract with the bank to purchase this car, and I'm saying that I will make this payment over a certain period of time. I will give my assets in exchange for this asset. Why is that contract not ordained by God, but this contract is? It's the same thing. You're just getting one asset for another, and here you're exchanging one asset for. Here you're just combining assets instead of exchanging them. But it's the same thing. It's all about the assets, right? So this is really what bothers me about theologians, because they will use their philosophy, and that's what I call it. I call it a philosophy, right? A philosophy like any other. You use your philosophy to coerce people into making a tremendously bad business decision. When if you presented it like it was a business decision, you know that you would be rejected outright. You would be rejected from the beginning. So I always approach it from that point of view, especially with religious people. Because if you ask a religious person what marriage is, you'll get 10 million answers. And none of them have anything to do with business, and none of them have anything to do with the law. And marriage is only about business, and it's only about the law. Anything else is a lie. And if you don't believe me, you're more than welcome to go discuss it with a lawyer. Because I promise you, if you go to a religious person and you ask them what marriage is, they'll give you the most nonsensical thing you've ever heard. Whatever they tell you, you cannot form it into a definition. You cannot form it into a definition. They'll give you a list of practices. You got to do this, you got to buy that, you got to go here, you got to say this. But what they won't tell you is what it is. And you need to know what it is in order to know how to treat it. Speak to a lawyer. Speak to a lawyer before you ruin your life. Because you have to remember, right, that you don't need to incur all five of the tenets of the dark dimension. You don't need the marriage, the divorce, the alimony, the child support, and the lawyer's fees. You can incur just one of these, right? You can ruin your life, right? And become an indentured servant of the counterpart in perpetuity and forever, right? By only incurring one of these. So for example, even if you don't get married, right? But you continue to be intimate with that counterpart again and again and again, and you intimate without a vasectomy, and you are intimate without protection, in other words, without a condom, which I know you're not using. I know you're not using that condom, right? We read the statistics. I know you're not using a condom. Then eventually you're going to get the counterpart inseminated and pregnant. This is a guaranteed outcome. And this is where I'm really conflicted, because I know you're going to get this wrong. You're going to get somebody pregnant. Then you might not get the burden of marriage and divorce. You might not be put on that alimony, but you will be put on child support for 2 decades, and you will incur those lawyer fees for 2 decades. Now just imagine that. Just process that for a moment. Right? You're not even married to this individual, but here you are incurring 20 years worth of lawyer fees. Right? Just arguing it out in the court, right? And and the conflict inside of me, you know, this is really where I am. I'm still quite conflicted, you know. It came from the pre-reading that I was doing for today's video, right? And that pre-reading is actually, or rather the edification itself, the reading, is the second part of yesterday's video, right? And yesterday was the causes of parental burnout, and today's video focuses on the solutions, which quite frankly are really not solutions at all. It was then that I realized that, you know what, there aren't really any solutions. Of course, a vasectomy, freeze your sperm, get a vasectomy. This is the solution. It is the solution. But aside from that, let's say you are in the 99% of the world's population that will never have a vasectomy. What solution is there for you if you don't get a vasectomy? Really, there's no solution. We read the statistics before, and I'll repeat them now, that like 99%, 98% of men are going to be fathers before 55. You're all going to have kids by 55. It is rare, and some people will say it's even a red flag to see a man in his advanced ages with no children, because it really doesn't happen. It really, really doesn't happen. But if you're going out there with no vasectomy, even if you have kids, this is the thing. So I'm trying to really get to the men that don't have kids, and maybe I'm missing an opportunity here. Right? Maybe I'm missing an opportunity here. I need to really be speaking to the guys who do have kids, who know what it's like, and just say to you, hey man, listen, what if you have another child next year? What if you have another child next year? What is the value of that? And what is the value of vasectomy to you then? If you already have kids, you're really in the best position to get a vasectomy. You're really in a great position to get a vasectomy, because you've done it. You really ticked every box. There's nothing left for you. There's no mystery anymore, right? And if you get your vasectomy, really, what can people say? Really, what can people say? And while I was, doing and while I'll be reading the details in this portion of the article as solutions, when you really think about them, it's easy for you to be able to see these things as just another list of problems, right? Or problems, rather. And this list indicates like all the things that you should try to do to prevent or fix parental burnout. But it doesn't just, give you it to you as solutions. It simultaneously acts as an indication of the things that you are failing to do, the things that you've neglected to do, or the things that you simply cannot do for whatever the reason. And this is how I was thinking about it as I was trying to read this list. I thought, are these really solutions? Like, if you do these things, are they going to resolve and fix your burnout for indefinitely? Because it's not change unless it's permanent. You can proclaim that you've changed, a bachelor for life, I'm never gonna date again, but it's not really change unless it's permanent. That's why you need to get that vasectomy, because the vasectomy is quite frankly permanent, right? But the things that that we'll be reading today, while they show them in a certain amount of detail, they just show that these are all the things that you're failing to do. These are all the things that you're just not putting together. You're not being successful. You're not good at being a parent. And I've said this before. There's a lot of people that are parents and are realizing that they just shouldn't have done it. They just shouldn't have done it. And like, some of you became parents at a time when really you were doing well and you were about to really kill it in your career. And you became a parent and you ruined everything. So, over and above everything else that you have to do to maintain a household and a home, to build that home, to nurture that relationship, that lifestyle, to uphold a quality of life, and then to protect the life that you have built, right? And then also you have to then protect and provide, right, for everyone that you've built that life for, while ensuring that you ensure all of their outcomes and that they achieve all of the results that they've set out to achieve for themselves, which is impossible. You really cannot guarantee your children's outcomes. Every parent that thought their child was going to be a doctor was completely wrong. Go ask the parents how many of them thought their child was going to be a doctor. They thought their child was going to be a veterinarian. And he ended up working in a pet shop, which is not the same thing. Right? It's not the same thing. Being a vet and working in a pet shop is really not the same thing. Right? But over and above that, you now also have to carve out time to look after yourself, because you've become run down, because you've become beaten to the ground, not just from the exhaustion, but from the financial strain. You've really spent all your money and it's not enough. You've spent all your energy and it's not enough. You've put in all your strength and it's really not enough. I mean, you guys are really failing as parents. And I'm not going to lie to you. I'm really not going to lie to you. Not many of you are going to raise successful kids. As much as you want to, you're really not going to raise successful kids, especially these knee benders and counterparts. Perhaps it's the best thing that you can do. Just get them married together and let them suffer out, suffer it out together. Because what else are you going to do? Really, what else are you going to do? Really, what else are they going to do? I mean, if you don't get a vasectomy, what other choice are you going to have? Because now, if you're not getting married, if we don't marry these people together and tie them down, they're just going to be having illegitimate children everywhere. You're just going to have single mothers and single fathers all over the place. When in fact, we should just tie them down. And I understand to a certain point, why people would want you to get married. Because it's either that or indisciplined behavior, And then you just get run down. They just exhaust you. And if you're wondering how do people keep people under control, well, it's not really that difficult. You have kids to raise. It really doesn't take much more than that. You don't have time to be, putting together the troops and managing military budgets and strategizing. You've got kids to raise, man. And should your careers and stunts fail, how are you going to pay those bills every day? Should that YouTube career not work out, how are you going to pay those bills every day? It's one thing when you're by yourself and you can suffer through the rough patches, but kids don't do rough patches. Kids don't do rough patches at all. So, for me, this seems completely unrealistic and improbable, which means you're probably going to end up in debt or buying things like taking a bond or having car payments and credit cards and that kind of things, which ultimately is just a tremendous amount of debt. I believe that the failures described in these past 2 days, yesterday and today, are just the norm, and it's how people live. Again, you must understand, I'm a pure-blooded, thoroughbred bachelor and an evolved vasectomite. I have no wife and no kids, and I never will. Never have and never will. So everything I know about marriage and the dark dimension are the things that I know from observation and deductive reasoning. And thankfully, not from my own personal experience. But what does this indicate? The fact that everything I know is from observation, in other words, looking at other people and thinking for myself, this is crazy. I don't want to be any parts of this. What does this indicate? It indicates that everything that I know about marriage and the dark dimension, I learned it from you people. I learned everything that I know about marriage from you, not from my own experience. All the other knee benders, along with you, have been so vocal and so loud and so clear across every platform about how miserable your existence really is and how the outcome has really completely destroyed you. These are your words, your experiences, your outcomes, your results, your consequences. This is your truth that I'm speaking about. This is not as the voice of the vasectomites. As the voice of the vasectomites, the outcome would be completely different. The troubles that we will look at today are spoken from the bellows of the benders and not the voice of the vasectomites. These are things that you have described as happening in your life. And me, I believe you. I believe that you're suffering in the misery that we are going to describe today. But more than that, I believe that you've done it to yourself. So the title is called How to Prevent Parental Burnout. I just want to give credit. I don't have the credit on the screen, but I want to give credit to the website and the people that provided this information. The full title of the article is How to Prevent Parental Burnout. It was published on the 6th of November 2024, and it comes from the website www.allforkids, allforkids.org. I don't have it on the screen right now, but I'd still like to give credit to where the credit is due. However, if you do want to see it, you could just look at yesterday's video and it'll be somewhere around 30 minutes or so. You'll be able to see it. So on your screen, you'll be able to see it says 6 steps to preventing parental burnout. You're definitely not going to be able to do this. You're not preventing parental burnout. To prevent parental burnout, take small steps in the right direction. That just sounds like they are selling you a bag full of hope and hot air. It continues, it's not a situation that can be fixed overnight, can't be fixed at all. But the following 6 steps will help create more emotional space and availability. Okay. Everything seems to be processed through emotions. This has caused a lot of chaos in life. I can't specify how bad it's going to be if you process things emotionally. If you do this, you will have no logic in your life. Your money won't make any sense. The numbers won't make any sense. Your timing won't make any sense. Your habits, your routines are not going to make any sense. Part of the cause of burnout is because you just don't have sensible routines. You don't have a routine that includes rest and recreation, of which it's possible. It really is possible, but what you need is a structured individual, not a person who processes everything through, emotions, right? And has you creating more emotional space and availability. What is emotional space? How do you create? Listen, your emotions are controlled by chemical reactions happening in your brain. They are not real, tangible, physical things. It's all happening in your brain. How are you going to create emotional space from a chemical reaction? How do you create emotional availability from a chemical reaction? Does that mean I just have to sit there and listen? This is problematic. Because on the one hand, if I have to sit there and listen, eventually what you're saying is not going to mean anything to me. And so I have to now act like everything you're saying has meaning when it has no meaning at all. This is absurd. This is truly absurd when we're talking purely about a chemical reaction. We're talking purely about a chemical reaction because how else can you define emotions? Let's continue. Number one, your first solution is to take time for yourself. Now remember, the problem is you're burning out because you have too much to do and no time to do it. So now you have to stop doing the things that need to be done and take time for yourself. This is going to destroy your life. This is bringing chaos into your life. Parental burnout signals that your needs are being neglected. Parental burnout signals that your needs are being neglected. Doesn't it signal that you shouldn't have been a parent to begin with? Isn't that the signal you should be getting? But no. It signals that your needs are not being met with. No, it signals failure. This is why I was saying this is just a list of problems. It continues. Finding time for yourself, especially with multiple children, is difficult for most parents. Yes, you have many children. How do you expect to find time for yourself? However, even 5 to 10 minutes daily will significantly improve your life, really. Possible relaxation and self-care times are after the kids go to bed, early in the morning, or during your lunch break. Okay, this is a problem. This is really, really a problem. Because we're talking about 8 hours here of sleep. This is what they're describing. You're talking about 8 hours of sleep. So just before you sleep, you get about 5 or 10 minutes to pull yourself together. And just after you wake up, you get about 5 or 10 minutes to pull yourself together. And then the rest of the day is absolute chaos. Does that make any sense to you? Do those 5 minutes do you honestly believe those 5 to 10 minutes when you wake up are going to make a difference when the chaos starts? When the truth is you just shouldn't have been a parent. Right? And the truth is you should just get a vasectomy before this happens to you and happens to you again. right? So now you get early in the morning and after the kids go to bed, and then you go to bed too, exhausted. Good, nice try. It says good starts are 5 minute meditation, stretching routine, or 5 minutes of peace and quiet. What difference will that make? You get the same amount in the bathroom. You get the same amount of peace and quiet in the bathroom. That's not going to do it. I don't think this will do it. But I suppose, you're speaking. I'm speaking from the perspective of a person who has a tremendous amount of time on his hands, in terms of personal time. So, 5 minutes really isn't much for me. I don't know what I could accomplish in 5 minutes. You could listen to a song in 5 minutes. I don't know how much you can really accomplish by taking 5 minutes a day. I don't know how much stretching you can do or how much meditation you can do in 5 minutes. You have to listen to 5 minutes of a 10-hour audiobook. No, man, that's not a solution. 5 minutes of peace and quiet isn't going to make a difference for you. You need a lifetime of peace and quiet to appreciate it. It continues looking for more quick self-care options. Here are 75 self-care options that take 5 minutes or less. Okay, so there would have been a list of 75 self-care options. Please support their website. Their information is very good. Number two, ask for help. Oh, yes, now it takes a village, right? Now it takes a village. Now you need all of us to get involved. I don't like this. This is really the part about parenting that gets to me. Like, again, none of us were there when you were making those kids, and you thought you were so smart. You thought you were so fit, so handsome. She thought she was glamorous, and attractive and desirable, and the two of you were making magic. Now you want to ask for help. No. The answer is no. Help yourself. Help yourself. Another key step to preventing parental burnout is to ask for help. No. People tend to want to complete tasks independently. Yes, we do, especially parents from individualistic cultures. However, doing so can drain our emotional, mental, and physical capacity, leaving us exhausted. Let me read that correctly. However, doing so can drain your emotional, mental, and physical capacity, leaving you exhausted. Doesn't that sound so much clearer? Involving me in these things. There's no us here. There's no us here. It's just you. And now you again. This is exactly what I just said. This is the point that I just made, but they made it in a different way, right? It says here, people tend to want to complete their tasks independently. So you are inherently selfish. When people were telling you not to go in the back seat of that Jeep, not to be up top that roof, right? Not to be in those nightclub bathrooms with those boys, with those girls. You were acting independently. You were being rebellious. You thought you were so cool in those nightclubs. You thought you were so cool in those fast cars, right? And then now you want to try and parent as an individual. You want to try and parent rebelliously, and parenting doesn't work that way. You have to be disciplined and structured and organized every single day of your life as a parent. You can't be willy-nilly trying to create emotional space and emotional availability. That's why it's falling apart. You people are not organized. You're really not organized. That's why things are leaving you emotionally drained, mentally drained, physically drained, and now you're exhausted. And then it says here, asking for help can mean asking a nearby parent to carpool. Absolutely not. Oh, I can't tell you how much I hate sharing my car. Oh, I was driving around the other day by myself listening to music. I was actually doing some recordings, street recordings, that kind of thing. You just turn your camera on and you drive. It's really a great way of creating inner city content without having to walk around, that kind of thing. And I was just so grateful to be able to drive around in my car by myself and just go. I didn't go anywhere, I was just going. And while I was going, I was creating content. Right? It's just a nice outlet to be able to be a creative. And I just thought how grateful I am just to be able to drive around in my car. And hearing this carpool situation, it just brought those memories flashing back. Now I have to say that the my internal conflict is gone. By the way, you guys are just doing this to yourself. Now you are including other people in a carpool. That sounds like a terrible idea. Now, not only must I drive around with my kids, I gotta drive around with your kids too? No way. No, 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 no. That just sounds like an absurdly bad idea. It doesn't sound like decreasing stress, it sounds like compounding it. Really? I gotta bring my kids and your kids? No, 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 no. I don't support this. I don't support this, but let me read on. So, this is how you people live. Let me read on. Asking for help can mean asking a nearby parent to carpool to school a few times a week. More than once? Or a family member, no, 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 not a family member, to help with the kids. Many people are willing to help. We are not willing to help. I think people with kids are willing to help just so that you can reciprocate. But people without kids, we really don't want anything to do with your kids. I really don't want anything to do with you people's kids. And it's like, as a man, I have to be honest. I have to be honest, right? I can understand that parents have a protective instinct towards their kids and against people that may or may not be a threat and so on and so forth. And I respect that. I respect that. But the idea that you think somebody wants to spend time with your children is absurd to me. It is absurd. Even you don't want to spend time with your children. This is why you're burning out. You are experiencing a tremendous amount of exhaustion because you spend too much time with these kids. How could you possibly think that somebody who doesn't have no wives, no kids, no alimony, no child support, no lawyer fees, no divorce, no problems like that, why would you think that people like me want to be with your children? Why would we? Why would we want this burden, this annoyance? Just think about that. Like, imagine a group of children like what we had in the picture today, jumping and shouting and screaming 4 hours non-stop, just 4 hours, just 4 hours of just shouting, screaming. And now you've got them in a car and they just shout and scream because that's what children do. That's what children do. I haven't been to a playground in years, but the last time I was in the playground, people were shouting and screaming non-stop. Right? And so it's troubling to me. It's really troubling to me, like to see you there clutching your children as I'm walking past going to a gourmet restaurant. Like, what am I gonna do? Take your child to a restaurant? Are you insane? Do you know how expensive kids are? And they just eat and they play with their food and don't actually really eat? No, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. That's that stepfather nonsense. But anyway, let's continue. Let's continue. No, people are not willing to help you. We don't want to help. We don't want to have nothing to do with your kids. Imagine, you know, we weren't there when you made those kids. We weren't there. Why must we be there to care? You know, how expensive kids are, even for people who aren't the parent, just to keep them things busy. I have to go take them for ice cream. No, 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 no. I'm not buying any more ice creams. Be self-compassionate. Self-compassionate. I like that. I'm a very self-compassionate person. But you, how can you be self-compassionate? You have children. Let's see. It says, when you're emotionally exhausted, which is you, the last thing you want to be is hard on yourself. Well, you did kind of do this to yourself. Recognizing you're doing your best and patting yourself on the back for your efforts is crucial in preventing parental burnout. How? How is this going to prevent parental burnout? How is self congratulations, patting yourself on the back, how is that going to prevent your exhaustion? This is just another problem. Now you're really selling yourself emotions when what you need is a 10-hour sleep and 8 hours of regular sleep every day and some breaks during the day, and just to live a normal life. The bachelor life. Get a vasectomy, man. Now you're patting yourself on the back. How is this helpful? How is that helpful? Oh, ancient one, you're doing your best. You're the best dad that you could possibly be. Okay, now my energy's up again. No, no. Become your own support system, oh God. Become your own support system and watch the burnout diminish. This is exactly what I was saying. How are you to support yourself while supporting others so you can support others while supporting yourself? These are all contradictions. There's no solution here. There's really no solution here. These people, what they're telling you is like the list of problems was so clear and the solutions are just so airy fairy. I mean, the problems that they listed, they were so distinct yesterday. I can't remember all of them, like financial, physical, emotional, mental, right? Stress, tension, irritation, right? Just off the top of my head. They had a tremendous list which was very concise. But here you're expected to pat yourself in the back for doing your best, and you get 5 minutes before you sleep and 5 minutes after you wake up. You are not pulling this off. I'm telling you now, based on this information here, it tells me that you're not doing the thing. You are not doing the thing. Oh man, you should have never become a parent. Oh, you really should have never become a parent. I cannot think of a worse outcome for me personally. For me, no, I can't think of a worse outcome than having kids. Like, divorce has its limits, right? I'm speaking from a vasectomy. I had a vasectomy. I'm speaking from a vasectomy. You're a bender. You're gonna bend and you're gonna have kids, right? So you're gonna have a completely different perspective. But divorce, as tragic and tremendous as it is, you could divorce a person and never speak to them again. If you don't have kids with that person, it's like an expensive breakup, really. You could just part ways and proceed with confidence, but you really can't break up from your children, man. And these people are gonna be there forever, and they're always gonna be as children. So you could be going through a tremendous, tremendous breakup, or a tremendous divorce where you were completely wiped out financially. And then your kids still expect to come visit you. And when they visit you, they still expect to see the internet, all the lights working, food in the fridge. They don't expect anything to change in terms of quality of life, regardless of the fact that you've been destroyed. And then you gotta just pat yourself on the back for burning out. Like, man, just get a vasectomy. You know, and like divorce is one thing. Like divorce is tragic, and people who have been divorced, part of the thing that they complain about is really having to continue to pay, and that's because you have kids with someone. But were it not for those kids, really, you could just go your own way. You could find an amicable agreement and just move on. But the contention is because of the kids, because you still want to be in the kids' lives, right? You still expect to be in the kids' lives. She expects to be in the kids' lives. You expect to be in the kids' lives for decades, right? For decades, many years to come, 40, 50, 60 years to come. So, marriages, graduations, divorces, first kid, second kid, third kid. You want to be there for all of that, right? And you expect to be, but that just keeps you committed. That just keeps you in it forever and ever. And I know if you want to have kids, okay, you want to have kids, you love your kids, that's your choice. But if you are sure that you shouldn't be having kids, man, you should just get a vasectomy. You really need to get a vasectomy. Right, let's look at number 4. It says you have an accountability partner. I don't even know where to begin. Anyway, having someone hold you accountable for prioritizing your needs will significantly help prevent parental burnout. This sounds like an enabler. Somebody who's going to say, oh, well, you're right for leaving your kids for 8 hours. You're right to go out and party once in a while. It's okay for you to, go on a 2-week vacation and leave your kids behind. No, it's not. No, it's not. People, you must understand. Raising children is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for the rest of your life. It is the single biggest, greatest commitment you can make because it's a biological commitment. Marriage is a business contract, and business fall apart every day. But this is a biological contract between you and your kids, and you can't break that. You cannot break or sever those ties, right? So having somebody there tell you that you need to take care of yourself is just really an enabler. Because if somebody was going to hold you accountable, they should tell you that you shouldn't have had those kids. You did this to yourself and you need to take care of this. You need to take care of this for the rest of your life. You need to find a way to have more than enough money for your kid to need and to leave something behind. A couple of $1,000,000. Because now your kids are going to be coming out into the world poor. This is another problem. There's so many poor people coming from poor parents who come into the world poor. And they are shocked by how hard it is to get rich. They are just shocked by how hard it really is to get that cash money and to keep it. So having somebody hold you accountable, man, they should just tell you the truth. You shouldn't have been rich. You've just created a tremendous amount of problems and a business opportunity for other people. It says a quick weekly check-in can keep you on track with your personal goals as a parent. I don't know. I don't know how you keep this going. I don't know how you people plan to keep this going. To check in once a week to see how your person. This sounds like a therapist or something, someone that you can talk to who can be on your side and lie to you and tell you that you're doing great when you're not. You're raising poor people. You're raising poor people, and you know that you're poor, right? You're not broke. You've been broke for 45 years, broke for 50 years. That's poverty. You can't be broke your whole life. Which year have you been rich and successful? I mean, what was the year where you said, my best year of income, I made so many millions in 2001? What is the year actually that you have been rich? I'm here to argue that you've never had a year where you've been wealthy, where you can say, you know what, this year I made more money than I've ever made in my life. Because I've had some tremendously successful year after signing some great contracts, right? And I've had some stable years of some great contracts. But even if I didn't, the fact that I'm a vasectomite means I get to save most of my money. But your parental goals should be to raise your kids and to be rich so you can leave these kids something tangible, right? And me, I can save my money, and be ready for retirement and what comes after that, right? New endeavors. Even if I don't make it big, I can save my way to success. steadily, 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 right? And if I do make it big, then I've got a habit of saving. What are you going to do when your kids need to go to college and they need a car and they need an apartment and they need furniture and internet and devices that all work on the internet, smart fridges? What are you going to do? You're just going to have to pay. You're really just going to have to pay, man. I don't know about these weekly goals. You should just have a weekly goal of going and get a vasectomy. That's what you need to do. Number 5 says rearrange your child's schedule and activities. Isn't this the problem? Isn't the problem that your child has a busy schedule and you have a busy schedule and your whole family is just too busy? Now you're just shifting things around. Chaos. Chaos. This is what they are inscribing here. Chaos. Lastly, consider rearranging your child's schedules and activities. Summer family activities can stretch your plate very thin, yes. So avoid overscheduling. Create healthy and manageable daily routines for kids. Sometimes things add up quickly, and you don't realize how hectic your child's schedule is until you check the calendar. If this occurs, prioritize mental and emotional health and cut one or two activities. A more open schedule for your child reduces your stress as well. Here's the problem: now your kids are at home, full of tons of energy, and they start breaking things. Right? Your kids are going to start breaking things, they're going to start being belligerent, they're going to start doing all kinds of madness. Right? So, this is your problem. So you either keep them busy and exhaust yourself, or you leave them to their own devices, and they're going to be jumping on the sofas. And when they jump on the sofa, they're going to break that sofa. When they jump on the bed, they're going to break that bed. When they jump on that chair, they're going to break that chair. When they throw things at the TV is going to break. And they're going to jump, throw, run, jump, throw, run, jump, throw, run all day long. So rearranging their schedule to give them more free time is just an opportunity for them to have extra energy and to start breaking things, because that's really what they're gonna do. There are those who steal. You got a thief. Every family's got a thief, one or two thieves, but there's always at least one thief in the family. Where there's two kids, one of them is a thief, the other is a liar, or both. But effectively, you do get thieves and liars in every family, and until they start stealing and lying, they're going to be running and breaking, right? So you won't be able to tell who's the thief, who's the liar until later on in life. But until then, they're both doing the same thing, which is running, breaking, and then competing about who can run and break things the most. I don't know how you people are going to fit this all together. I really don't know how you're going to make this right. But number 6 says, your child's mental well-being. Support your child's mental well-being. I don't think children understand that they have a mental well-being. They have two emotions, which is hyper or sleeping. Right? Now, you might have a child who's not very hyper or not very aggressive, okay? But especially if you have like boys, but even young girls, young boys, really, at that age, there isn't much of a difference in terms of jumping and playing and breaking things, right? That comes like later on, right? And for boys, it goes on far too long. But effectively, I don't think your children even know they have mental well-being. Maybe after puberty, they'll know, okay, I have some mental well-being. But under 13, the kids don't know. They just know that they feel happy, they feel angry, and that's it. Smile, cry, laugh. That's it. If your child needs more attention, which children love attention, and is acting out, every child is always acting out, you can teach them self-care or seek help from mental health services. How do you teach a child self-care? It takes years to teach a child self-control. It takes years to teach a child self-control. Right? So now even if you go to seek help from mental health services, we're talking about years and years of training. That's really what it is. It's just training, right? And by the time you get the training right, they are already a teenager with completely different influences. So the training that they've had from the past really isn't going to be effective. You know, they're just going to have to go through the stages that they go through, and you're just going to have to suffer through all the stages, and just you wait for them to become teenagers. Just you wait for them to get access to things. All Four Kids provides mental health, tools and services for ages 0 to 21, so from 0 to adults, which is really how long you're going to be parenting for, not less than that. With an incredible team and resources, All for Kids also offers individualized services for children who have transitioned out of foster care. Reducing burnout and increasing presence is the final section here. Parenting is a lifelong journey. Oh yes, it is. Parenting is for life. You are in it forever. You hear me? Once you are in for life, right? Divorce is one thing. Marriage, one thing, it can end. But as for parenting, I think this is an important point for us to acknowledge here. And it's that parenting is, in fact, for life, right? There are no days off when it comes to parenting, all right? So there are no vacations in any of that. Once you're in it every day, and you're in it for life. It's really a tremendous task. And I suggest that before you engage or impart on this journey, that you take a moment to recognize your own limitations. As a man, as a woman, however you see yourself, just understand your own limitations, and understand that once you start on this journey, you're in it really for the rest of your life, and you're never gonna get a day off from it, right? It's for life. That's why I just suggest you get yourself a vasectomy, you freeze your sperm, and then decide when you start. Because once you start, there's no going back. There's no going back. You cannot diverge from this timeline. You are in it forever, right? So it's something that you really need to consider very seriously. By incorporating the steps to prevent parental burnout, you're taking better care of yourself and your children. I think if you incorporate some of these, if these work, then good for you, but I don't think that they're going to work very well. I think, in fact, you're just going to create more problems, and you're going to create a situation where, quite frankly, people start to see you as being selfish. The more time you start to take away for yourself, to prioritize your own things, people are going to accuse you of being more selfish. So, really, I say the best move is not to play the game. The winning move is not to play the game. Right? Freeze your sperm, get a vasectomy, because you are going to experience these problems, this burnout. I recall a colleague of mine who recently got married and got his new bride inseminated. I mean, it was a matter of time before she was pregnant. And since then, he's been complaining about nonstop migraines. And nobody's telling him, like, yeah, you're having a migraine. It's called regret. It's not called a migraine. It's your body telling you that what you did was a colossal mistake and you failed. And it's your body's reaction against that. Right? Your body is resisting what you're doing, and you are forcing the issue. Burnout is an indication that you are above and beyond your capacity. If you were equal to this task, you wouldn't be burning out. You wouldn't be exhausted. It is an indication that you are failing as a parent, and that parenting is above your scope. And if you knew this up front, most people would never engage in parenthood. And we also know that 45% of pregnancies are unplanned, or claim to be unplanned. I don't believe that for a second, but I'll use the statistic. All right, if 45% of pregnancies are unplanned, or at least the 45% of the people that are having pregnancies that don't know are the men. So if 45% of you don't know that you're getting somebody pregnant or that you're pregnant yourself, this is an indication that you didn't actually want the child. And the fact that you are struggling and experiencing, financial, emotional, physical, mental burnout is an indication that this is above your capacity. It's above you mentally, it's above you physically, it's above you financially, it's above you emotionally, it's above you intellectually, right? You are not coping in any area, in any aspect of parenthood. It's not just, like, oh, my child is struggling at school, but they are successful in other areas of life. No, it's every area of life that's collapsing. That's what they say when they say physical burnout. That's physically, emotionally, financially, mentally, right? What else is there? How else can you burn out? There's nothing left to burn out. That's everything. In every aspect of life, you are burning out. This is a tremendous failure in parenting. It just tells you that you shouldn't have been a parent. Just imagine that. Imagine you are failing as a parent in every single possible aspect. Every measure of success that we measure parenting on, you are failing. This is too much. It's too much of a failure. And there's a point where you have to indicate to yourself and accept within yourself that you just shouldn't be a parent. You really shouldn't be raising kids. You shouldn't be having kids. It's too much for you. That's why you're burning out. Get a vasectomy. Freeze your sperm. Get a vasectomy. Right? And then face reality in a way that you know that you can cope. Right? Then you don't have to be chasing after CEO jobs just to try and get rich. You can get rich in your regular job. Right? Not saying that you shouldn't be ambitious. I know I am. I'm absolutely ambitious. And I'm absolutely competitive. But I'm saying that you can compete in your own terms and then win and lose on your own terms. And you're probably going to find that you have more victories playing under your own terms than you would losses. Because now you're not playing under your own terms and you're burning out. You are exhausting your strength, your finances, your mental capacity, your intelligence, your patience, your emotional capacity. It's all burned out. It's all gone. It's all gone, and it's not gonna come back. And by the time you have the time or the chance to try again, you'll be too old. Nobody wants to see 60-year-olds trying to relive their dreams. That's called regret. Trying to make up for lost times. Your bones are just not as nimble as they were in your youth. You can't be doing those things. This truly is a time-sensitive thing. Life is truly a time-sensitive thing. And you need to choose wisely. Because you can choose one thing and be stuck with that thing for the rest of your life. And I chose to be stuck in the bachelor life. I chose to be stuck as a vasectomite. And even though the time is going, there's not a single moment of my life. Not a single moment of my life that I'm wasting spending it on another person. And I do experience exhaustion, but I don't experience burnout. Not to this extent. Not to this extent. Freeze your sperm and get a vasectomy, people. This is your salvation. This is your salvation. Because what you see here, this burnout, this is suffering. This is truly suffering. Thank you for your time and your attention. I really appreciate it. I am the Ancient One, and I am the Bachelor Supreme, and I hope you have a nice day.